There are three foundational mechanics of kettlebell training that you need to master in order to maximize your kettlebell training: the kettlebell swing, the clean, and the snatch. And in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to do all three of them in basic and simple ways so you can master them and be on your way to maximize your gains through kettlebell training. Okay, so the first one, and probably the most simple one that most people will pick up when they start kettlebell training, is the kettlebell swing. It's a simple movement, but still a lot of people get it wrong. Let me demonstrate first to you what it looks like and how to do them properly. There are two variations of the kettlebell swing: the one arm variation and the two arms variation. This is the single arm kettlebell swing. Okay, and now this is the two arm kettlebell swing. I'm going to be using the bigger kettlebell just because the handle can fit both of my hands a little bit better than the smaller one. But the mechanics of the movement is exactly the same. Okay, so that is the kettlebell swing. The kettlebell swing is a hinge-based movement, and all of the power comes from your hips and basically your lower body. It's not really an upper body exercise for the most part. What a lot of people get it wrong when they do the kettlebell swing is they do some kind of form of a combination of a squat and a shoulder raise. This is the common mistake that I see people do when they do the kettlebell swing, is they actually use their shoulder muscles to raise the kettlebell up, right? So usually it looks something like this. But this is not the correct mechanics of the kettlebell swing, okay? Your arms, the swing of your arms are only an indication of how powerfully you're doing the exercise. The proper way to do the kettlebell swing is by bending and hinging at your hips like this, and from here to the top of your head, basically your body remains straight. You never round your back when you do the kettlebell swing. You always keep your torso upright. There are only three hinge points in the kettlebell swing: your hips, your knees, and your ankles. Very slight bend on your knees and ankles. Most of the bending is in your waist because you're doing a hip thrust in order to generate power. So again, your arms swinging around is only an indication of the movement. So let me demonstrate. I never use my shoulder muscles, so my two arms are basically just like loose noodles or ropes. They're not generating any force. They're just swinging around. So if I'm just kind of doing the exercise, not very powerfully, it looks something like this. You see, I'm thrusting with my hips, not very powerfully. So my hand is only being swung up to this point. And my shoulder is just like a fulcrum. It's not generating any power whatsoever. If I want to get my hand to a higher point, then I would have to thrust harder, make it into a more explosive movement. And it'll just swing harder, and it'll bring the kettlebell higher up. So if I use the kettlebell to demonstrate, it looks something like this. This is a 16 kilogram kettlebell, so it's not too heavy, but it's good enough to demonstrate the force and how it affects the kettlebell. So again, if I'm just kind of swinging it around and not doing it too powerfully, see, it's only being swung to this point, right? If I do it with more power, see, you can see the kettlebell is being raised higher, but at no point am I using my shoulder muscles. My shoulders are always relaxed. They never raise the kettlebell. They're only serving as a hinge point for the arms to swing around, and all the power is generated from your hips thrusting forward. Okay, so that is the basic mechanics of the kettlebell swing. It's very simple. Again, most of the power comes from your glutes, your hips, and your basically your hamstrings. Right? It's a powerful movement that relies on the power of your glutes and your hamstrings to generate force to thrust the kettlebell forward. And the only reason why the kettlebell is swinging upwards is because this is the center point of rotation. Right? Basically, if you're not holding it in your hand, the kettlebell should just launch forward. Okay, so that is the kettlebell swing. Now, the second one, which is the kettlebell clean, is probably the most useful skill that you need to learn, because pretty much almost every kettlebell exercise and workout that you're gonna do will involve placing the kettlebell from the floor to the rack position. The rack position is basically when you have the kettlebell up in your bicep shoulder area and you're carrying it like this. Because from this position, you can do all the kettlebell exercises that you want to do in order to build muscle and endurance. From here, you can do an overhead press, you can do a reverse lunge, you can do a front squat, you can bring it back down and clean it back, you can bring it back down and snatch it, right? But most of kettlebell exercises require you to put the kettlebell in this position. The most common mistake that people do when they learn the kettlebell clean for the first time is they bang the kettlebell on their wrist and forearm. This is a very, very common mistake. Happens to everybody, including myself. Because usually when people start training with the kettlebells, they learn the kettlebell swing. And then after that, they progress to the clean, and people assume that the clean is an extension of the swing, but it's a completely different mechanic. The swing, as I said, is exactly what that is. It's a hip hinge based movement. It's a swing. But the kettlebell clean is actually a pull. Now, actually, there are two variations of the kettlebell clean. One is more of the swing type, and the other one is the more of the pull type. I really like the pulling type clean because it's the variation that allows you to build more muscle and explosive power. So let me demonstrate the two variations first. The first one is the clean that comes from a swing. So it looks something like this. So let's say you're doing the kettlebell swing, and then you're cleaning the kettlebell from here, something like this. Right? So from swing to a clean. Okay? The second variation starts the kettlebell on the ground. So it looks something like this. People also call it the dead stop kettlebell clean because it starts from the dead stop position. I'm going to be teaching you this variation because it's actually an easier mechanic to learn, and also it's actually it gives you more bang for your buck in terms of building muscle and explosive power. Okay, so the kettlebell clean is a pull. It's not a swing. What that means is, at no point ever do you swing the kettlebell and then you swing it so hard so that the kettlebell essentially flips over and lands on your wrist, right? That's not how you do it at all. So let me just explain to you the simplest way to do it. You want to pull the kettlebell to basically the side of your body, something like this. Okay? You just pulling, like doing a dumbbell row. Pull, 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 pull. Okay? Now the other side. Pull. Just pulling. Up. So the kettlebell never goes above the handle. Okay, it's at most it's kind of level and horizontal with the handle. So now watch. I'm going to show you how from the pull I transition into the clean. Okay, pull, now clean. Clean. That's it. Very easy. Pull, clean. Okay, now do it with the left side so you can see it from the other side. Pull, now clean. Up, pull, pull, now clean. Up. Okay, the only difference is when I want to do the clean, I just push my elbow forward. So maybe from this side it's easier to see. Watch what happens to my arm when I'm pulling the kettlebell to my side, right? Look at the position of my elbow. Okay, pull, pull. You see, it's in behind my body to my side. Okay, pull. Now, when I'm cleaning from here, all I'm doing is I'm pushing my elbow forward. And what happens is the kettlebell is going to swivel in my hand like this, and it's going to land on my shoulder and biceps area, basically. If you have a smaller kettlebell, like a cast iron kettlebell, like the one I'm holding here, it is going to land on your wrist and forearm, but at least it's not going to bang it. If you're a complete beginner with kettlebell training, you are going to have some bruising because just by the nature of the pressure on your wrist and forearm, but it's not an impact, right? It's just pressure of the kettlebell sitting on your wrist and forearm. This one, you just have to get used to it. You'll get stronger. Don't worry about it. Just keep training. It's gonna be fine. Okay. So again, the only difference with the pull and the clean is once I pull the kettlebell here, I push my elbow forward, and I want to have a loose grip to allow the kettlebell to swivel and land behind my hand. So you never want to grab the kettlebell with a dead grip, with a fixed grip, basically. The kettlebell should always be able to swivel around in your hand with almost every kettlebell movement, even the swing, actually. So you just kind of grab it with a monkey grip. Because if I grab it with a dead grip, grab it so hard, it won't be able to swivel around, right? So I want to have loose thumb so that the kettlebell can move in my hand. So one more time, demonstration. From the pull to the clean. Okay? Pull, pull, now clean. Clean. Just pushing the elbow forward. Pull, pull, watch the elbow. Clean. Forward. Okay? Left side. Watch the elbow. Pull, pull, now clean. Clean. Right? Again, pull, pull, now clean. Up. That's it. The kettlebell swivels in your hand. It never bangs onto your wrist or forearm. Okay? Just lands softly, kind of softly, but I mean, it's still metal, right? So it still adds pressure on your wrist and forearm, but it doesn't hit your arm with an impact. Clean. Clean. Now, the reason why I prefer this variation of the clean rather than the one that comes from the swing is because once you move on to a heavier kettlebell, you really have to yank this out from the ground explosively. So if I demonstrate with this one, which is the 28 kilogram kettlebell, watch the difference. Especially once you get fatigued and tired and you use really heavy kettlebell, you have to use your whole body just to pull the kettlebell up from the ground. All right. So this is all pure power and pulling explosiveness. Yeah. Now this side. Watch. I can do the same thing. Let me just do a pull first and then a clean. Pull. Pull. Okay, now clean. You see, I'm having to use my whole body, including my legs, to almost kind of thrust it forward and then assist that with my arms and my back to pull it into position. So that's what makes this such a great exercise as a full body pulling movement. Okay, so that's the second foundation of kettlebell training, the kettlebell clean. Now, the third one, the kettlebell snatch. Once you master the kettlebell clean, it's very easy to master the snatch because it's the exact same mechanic as the clean. The only difference is instead of pulling the kettlebell here, you're pulling it way up here. Okay, so let me demonstrate first. Again, it's not a swing, it's a pull. Okay, I'm going to pull the kettlebell way up to the top. Okay, pull. Okay, one more time. Pull, up. Now the other side. Up. Pull, up. One more time. Pull, up. Okay, so basically, instead of pulling the kettlebell here, now I'm pulling it upwards. Upwards, like this. Like this. I'm pulling it up. Up. Yeah. Pulling it upwards. And then, from that point on, exact same thing. You allow the kettlebell to swivel in your hand. Now, the difference is instead of like the clean, from here, you push your elbow forward and allow the kettlebell to swivel. Now, what you want to do is you want to push your hand upwards and allow the kettlebell to swivel in your hand, something like this. So pull, it's a bit hard to do, but you pull once the kettlebell is basically weightless at this point, and then you just kind of allow it to swivel in your hand and you catch it in the snatch position like this. Okay, so from the other side, you're pulling it hard. You're pulling hard. Now it's weightless, right? You allow it to swivel in your hand and you catch it at the top position. Okay, now when you're using a lighter kettlebell or it's early in your workout, you still have a lot of energy, you can perform the snatch almost entirely as a pulling exercise, right? Because you're able to rely on your pulling muscles to get the kettlebell from this point to this point. So it's just a pull. Pure explosive pulling power to the top. The kettlebell is weightless all the way to the top and you catch it at the top, right? Pull hard. You see? But once you get fatigued or you move on to heavier kettlebell, you may only be able to pull up to this point. So from this point to the top, you have to rely on your shoulders to push your kettlebell up to the top position. So let me just simulate what it feels like and what it looks like if I'm using a heavier kettlebell, or let's say my pulling muscles are just fatigued. I just don't have as much power anymore. So the pulling only happens, let's say, up to here, and from this point on, I have to compensate with my pushing muscles. Something like this. Okay, watch the transition between pulling and pushing. Okay, pull, push. It looks like one continuous smooth movement, but there is a difference. So now I'm going to do the whole thing as a pull. Whole thing pull. You will feel the kettlebell being weightless all the way to the top. because you generate so much power and momentum from the ground. But when you're not able to do that, you have to combine with a push halfway to the top. And push. And push. Okay. I'm going to demonstrate with an actual heavier kettlebell. So you see the difference in the form. Okay. This is the kettlebell snatch with the 28 kilogram kettlebell. Okay, now this side. Okay, so if you pay attention to the path of the kettlebell, just like the clean, it never goes upside down. The bell never goes above the handle and then land on your wrist with an impact. The kettlebell always swivels around your hand. That's how you avoid getting your wrist and your forearm banged up by the kettlebell. Okay? So those are the 3 foundational mechanics of the kettlebell that you need to master. It may be a bit difficult in the beginning, especially if you've never used the kettlebell before, but you just practice it, get your wrist and forearm used to having the pressure of the kettlebell sitting on it. If you use a competition style kettlebell, which is the bigger one like this, you can kind of afford to rest the kettlebell more on your shoulder and your biceps, like this. So it's just kind of resting on my shoulders and my biceps instead of completely on my wrist. So it takes some of the pressure away from the wrist. But if you're using a cast iron kettlebell, a smaller one like this, right, most of it is going to rest on your forearm. But it's no problem. You just get used to the pressure, right? So you build up strength over time. So that's it for the video. I hope you find this helpful and useful. Try it out, practice the movements and get better at it. After that, you can basically do any kind of kettlebell exercise that you want in order to maximize your gains on your workout. Okay? Let me know how it goes. Leave some comments. And yeah, have fun.